We're here with Shubamrita. He is one of Amma's senior disciples. Been with Amma for 20-something years, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about what Amma is here to teach us, what she represents, and what this all means to him.
Amma's message to humanity is to awaken to their true self and to realize who they are in reality. We all have certain wrong notions about ourselves, and we feel ourselves just confined, to this identification to the body, mind, and the intellect. But our true nature is much beyond that. And the goal of Amma is to help us to awaken us to that reality of who we are. And each person may have a different path to follow. She instructs each person as per their mental constitution, their spiritual disposition. But then the goal is to finally take them towards that realization of who we are. I always feel, nowadays when you go to a bookshop, you find certain novels which say this is a fiction based on certain facts. Our life sometimes is the opposite. It's a fact based on certain fictions. Certain fictions about who we are. We think we are just this limited individual, but in reality we are much more than that. So it's like sometimes we love to say that, who am I? I'm just a drop in this humanity, in this humanity, or I'm a drop in the ocean. But as Rumi puts it, we are not only a drop in the ocean, we are also the ocean in the drop. So the role of masters like Amma is to awaken to this infinite source of strength and love that we have with it. And that in reality is also the purpose of life. Because then, you experience true freedom. All the boundaries that you have, that you feel are limiting you, they just kind of wane away, and you are able to be in that state of happiness and bliss all the time. Along with it comes certain things, which is also a big part of Amma's message. That is, Amma is somebody who spreads the message of love and compassion all over the world. And when you get closer to your true self, automatically you start becoming loving and compassionate. Because as you get closer to who you are in reality, you see yourself in everybody. And when you see yourself in everybody, you cannot do anything else but love and serve. So this compassion that we see from Amma, that is flowing boundlessly, it comes from that vision of oneness, where she doesn't see anybody as separate from her, and that keeps just flowing and flowing without a stop. So it is this vision of oneness that makes compassion complete. But at the same time, Amma also stresses that we shouldn't be waiting till we kind of gain that realization to be compassionate. Sometimes compassion is also the way. You try to be consciously compassionate, and that helps you to grow as well. And that really helps you to kind of realize that the other person is not separate from you. So compassion is the path as well. So love and compassion are also big parts of Amma's message. So to sum it up, it is to know who you are, and also to be loving and compassionate to people. And that's what she does through her life also. To every person who is coming to her, she is giving them this message in her own way, and guiding them towards the goal of self-realization or God realization, whatever way you would call it.
So the way to achieve this self-realization can be through love and compassion, but are there other ways of achieving that as well? For example, meditation?
Well, I don't see all the paths as different. Yes, there are different paths that each one can take up as per one's interest and one's spiritual disposition. There is a path of knowledge, there is a path of love, there's a path of selfless action. And each person can choose what is more suitable to them. Or sometimes Amma might guide them in the path that is more suitable to them. So through all these paths you reach the same goal. But what she also kind of talks about is the synthesis of all these paths, which lead one to the goal. Because in the path of love, you also need knowledge. You also need knowledge of whom you are praying to. What is in reality that form representing, or that ideal representing. And you need to put in effort as well. At the same time, in the path of knowledge, you also need that love towards the goal. There is that love aspect even there in the path of knowledge. Even in selfless service, there is love involved in it. You need to love what you are doing. You need to love that act of service. You also need to work, or do your actions with proper understanding. So knowledge is involved. So you can see that there is an overlap of all these paths. They are all connected to one another. Amma normally recommends the synthesis of all these three paths, especially for people here, because you have knowledge, you have ways to learn the scriptures, to contemplate on them. You also have a lot of devotional activities like singing devotional songs, chanting of the divine names, which also kind of keeps your heart very very active and very healthy. And also we have the path of selfless action, where people try to do service, which is also a great way of overcoming our likes and dislikes, our strong attachment to the ego, because you kind of leave yourself aside and you try to do something good for others. So she recommends the synthesis of all these three paths. In her words, it's like for a bird to fly in the sky, just like it needs two wings and a tail. I say similarly, for us to advance in the spiritual path, the tail has to be knowledge, one wing has to be service, and the other wing has to be devotion or love. So all these three are important. At the same time, there are people who are very deep in their own path of seeking, and Amma would instruct them accordingly. She would instruct them as per their interest, and also give them the encouragement to do the practice as per their interest. So I feel that all these are important. Meditation is important. Spiritual service practices, selfless service is important. And at the same time, having that love for the goal. The path of love is also equally important, because it cannot just be the intellect, it also has to be the heart. Both have to come together. It has that kind of leads one to the perfect balance.
Some people talk about realization as the present moment, coming into the present moment from being in your mind. And some people talk about it more as a realization of self. Do you see those as the same thing, or do you see maybe the present moment as a step toward realizing the self?
Well, if you really take the state of people who have realized, for them the present moment alone exists. There is no past, there is no future. They are just in that moment. They are completely in that moment. And for them, what is past for us and future for us is also present for them. They are just in that moment. So basically, you can correlate them. Being totally in the present moment is something that you see in realized beings. They are just in that moment. That moment alone exists for them. So it all depends on the way you really see it. But at the same time, living in the present has to become a permanent experience. We may be able to be in the present moment for a while, but then our mind is again caught up in the past or the future. So real realization is being able to abide in that present permanently and not fluctuating between the past and the future. So this is something that automatically happens when you realize you realize that there is no past and there is no future. As we all know that what we call as past and future is in the mind. It's not in reality. What is in reality is just the present moment. So when you have transcended the mind, they have no existence.
Is the spiritual path more about realizing universal truth, or is it more about being happy within oneself and being kind to others?
I don't feel they are different at all, because being kind to others and being happy are things that automatically join you when you attain realization. So I don't see any difference between them. For a person who has realized his true nature or her true nature would automatically be somebody who is loving to others and kind to others, and is also happy without any reason, who is happy all the time. So I think it is something that happens automatically. As you kind of grow deeper within, all these things also grow in you. They just become very spontaneous, very natural. You don't need an effort to be compassionate. You don't need to put an effort to be kind to somebody. You become kindness, or you become compassion. So it is something that is a byproduct that automatically happens when you get closer to yourself.
Is there an idea of awakening or enlightenment or moksha in this tradition, in Amma's heart, or is it just about the path?
Well, I would say that it is important to have a goal. It is important to kind of know what really the purpose of life is, and to also understand that the path is important, to reach the goal. So you kind of have a goal to give a focus, to give a direction to your efforts, and also to enjoy the path, enjoy your journey, because that is also something that Amma pays a lot of emphasis to. That yes, you are goal-oriented, but at the same time, you enjoy your journey as well, and understand that every step is also a part of the goal, because it's the journey that takes you finally there.
So the journey is almost in a certain way more important than the goal in the end?
Well, I would say they are all kind of linked to each other, right? Without the journey, there is no goal. So I feel it's all linked together in one way, because you cannot reach the goal without the journey. You cannot reach the destination without the journey. So Amma's message would be to enjoy every moment of your spiritual journey, and at the same time to know what your goal is, so that you don't go astray, you don't get distracted, and you keep going till you reach there.
How did you end up here, Shubamrita? How did you end up as one of Amma's senior disciples here at the ashram?
Well, to be very frank, I was not that interested in spirituality before I met Amma. I was a normal teenager living in Mumbai. I was doing quite well in academics. I was a lot into sports, into media work, into a lot of dance, drama, all these things. And these were kind of my priorities in life. And at this time I had an opportunity to see Amma. In fact, it so happened that she was visiting one of my relatives' house. And I had to be there as a family obligation, to kind of appease my uncle, and that's where I met Amma. And initially, I didn't want to kind of have any such thing with spirituality, but my first meeting with Amma was very powerful, and I would say that it changed a lot in me. It kind of opened up a totally new world for me. And I really kind of understood that there are more things in this world, that would make me truly happy, and that would make my life, filled with purpose. Of course, I was very analytical in my approach. I didn't want to, just jump into something without analyzing things properly. And I had a lot of questions in my mind about the path and about the master, and I took my time to kind of go through them, and Amma's answers, they fulfilled me quite a lot. And also I really was watching Amma for some time to really see, if what she is speaking is also there in her actions. And I was quite, amazed at that time to see that, in fact, it's more in her, in her action than in her words. So I really felt she's somebody who is walking her talk. And she's not just talking about values, she is kind of living those values. She's talking about love, she's giving love to each and every person. She's talking about compassion. It is clearly seen through all her humanitarian projects. She's talking about patience. She's there every day, 20 hours, meeting people, who can be more patient than that. She's talking about sacrifice. She leads a very simple life. She doesn't do anything for herself. It's all for humanity. So I could really see in Amma that she's somebody who's really walking her talk, who's putting all these ideals, these values into action. And that was very, very inspiring for me. And as I understood more about spiritual life, and as I was getting closer to Amma's message and also seeing what she was doing for the world, I had this desire in me if I could also be a part of the organization. So that's how I asked Amma if I could also join the organization. But at that time I was still studying, so she said that I would have to wait till I finish my studies. So it was under 2 years of waiting in Mumbai before I finally joined. So I would say that the whole process started just after meeting Amma, which changed a lot in my life, which kind of somehow made me understand that this is my priority and everything else will come later. And it kind of gave me a very clear idea of what I am here for and what I should really be using this precious gift of human life for. And yes, I feel so very blessed that I have this opportunity to be with her and also to serve her in my own little way. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time.
No, it's not that.